Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. You're watching In Deep on the Delta, and today I'm going to do a video that deals with the transitional period between summer and fall and going into winter. That fall season can be absolute killer out here for both largemouth bass and stripers. So we're going to talk about that period. We're going to talk about the baits that you may be wanting to put back in the box and some of the baits that you're going to need to dust off. I've had a lot of requests for this, and I am going to gear this for the newer fishermen, and I'm going to talk about baits that are fairly fast moving, and I probably won't mention some of the slower moving baits that may take a little more finesse and a little more confidence to use. So today we're going to be just kind of giving you an idea of 5, 6, 7, or 8 baits that you should have on hand in this transition. And the transition is going to be when these days start getting shorter and shorter. We don't have as much sunlight during the day, the nights are getting cooler, and the water temperatures are dropping. It's mid-September now, and the water temperatures have gone from about 78 to 80 down to about 75, 76. As that water temperature continues to drop, the fish are going to get active. And this time of year, fish are active chasing bait, whether it's shad, whether it's fry, whether it's any type of other minnow that's in here, whether it's small baby bass. They're going to be really active. Now, I'm predicting that's going to happen when the water gets down, closer to 70 degrees. So that could be in a week, or it could be in 3 weeks. Remember, everything this year has been 2 to 3 to 5 weeks late. So sooner or later, we are going to get a bite. I'm hoping it's going to be a slow transition, and that bite lasts for maybe 2, 3, 4 weeks. If all of a sudden we start getting cold weather right away and the water temperature drops real quick, we're going to have a great bite, but it may only last for a week. So let's get into talking about the baits that you should have, and we'll run down real quick what you need to have and some of my favorite baits. We'll start from the top. We'll work our way down. Number one is the Zara Spook. It's a standard. You guys probably already have this. If you don't, the one color that you want to get is just a white or a bone. If you want to get fancy, get one with a little bit of chartreuse in it, blue back. That's a good one. And also, because there are so many baby bass out here, a baby bass color is another good color. But if you're just going to get one, get the bone and go with that. This is a killer on both largemouth and small, or largemouth and small. It will catch smallmouth, but largemouth and striper. You want to work this bait very erratically, especially if you're fishing for striper. Make it a splashy retrieve and a quick retrieve. If you're throwing it for largemouth bass, make sure you stop that bait just long enough to maybe stop it and take a big breath and start it again. A lot of times that will be the key to catching largemouth, and they will come up and hit that real aggressive. Another bait that you can use that is very similar is the River to Sea Rover, and they've got a ton of colors also. So that's the only topwater bait that I really throw out here in this transitional time. I kind of put down the buzz baits and the whopper ploppers, and I stick with a walking bait. The next bait I'd like to talk about, and this is one that you really need to have starting now throughout winter, and it's going to be good really year-round, but it really shines through the fall into winter, and that is a jerk bait. This happens to be, what is this? A Stacy. The most popular jerk bait that people are throwing out here, and probably the most popular bait in the world, is the Megabass Vision 110. It's a smaller bait, and they make a, I think this is a 3 and a half or something. They make a 4.5. It's a smaller bait, but this is a great bait. The problem is, for newcomers, it's a $25 bait. If you don't mind spending the $25, this bait is going to be good on any body of water you go that has bass on it, whether it's in California or Florida or anywhere in between. Catches a lot of fish. The hooks are very light wire. If you're fishing the Delta, most people change out the hooks. Now, what I would suggest, you just bought a $25 bait, you don't want to change out the hooks. Leave these hooks on. They are super sharp. Make sure you fish these on about 10 to 12 pound test line out here on the Delta, and use a cranking stick, something that has a little bit of flex in the tip of the rod, so that you don't basically break these or snap them off on a hook set. And when you're using these, again, it's just a very erratic retrieve. snap, snap, stop, snap, snap, stop. The faster you move them, the more likely you're going to get a striper on these. I'll get back to the hooks. If you hook a big fish and you lose it, all that you're going to lose is basically a hook, because it's going to bend the hook out and you're going to lose the fish. You won't lose the bait. At that time, you'll have confidence in this bait. You're probably going to go home and switch out the baits. So Vision 110 is a great bait out here. Something that looks like, again, a small shad or some type of minnow. The muted colors, this is the Stacy. This is a great color, this kind of, I don't even know what the ghost shad, I think that's called. If you want to get fancy and buy a couple different ones, you might want to use get one that's a very flashy color. Sometimes that attracts the fish. And if you want to change, go with a couple colors, get something with a little chartreuse with the blue back. This is another Vision 110, but stick with these things, and all year round you're going to get a lot of fish on those. Kind of building on that jerk bait, the Fluke style baits, and you already have these. Make sure you have a Zoom Super Fluke on. Super salty Fluke, I don't know what the heck they call these things, but just a regular Zoom Fluke. And you can rig this bait one of two ways, just with a little mosquito hook right through the nose. You'll lose a few of these, but you'll catch a lot of fish, and they have great action. You can throw this on a spinning rod, no weight at all. The other thing that you can do is put it on a inline worm hook, and you can rig this just like, oops, we'll pull it over here. You can rig this just like a worm, and that way it's weedless. So two ways you can rig that. Another bait that I like that is in that style is the Lunker City Sluggo, and this is a little beefier bait. It's about a 6-inch bait, and they actually come in 8 and 10 inches, but generally I use the 6-inch. And you can see that I have these set up with a that corkscrew hook on this one, and this one is just a extra wide gap with a little weight on it. These are great baits, and they're tough. You can catch a lot of fish on both of these, so don't forget about using a Fluke. They are a very important bait during the transitional period. Okay, next, this will be quick. You're going to want to have a crankbait. This will be quick. Square bill crankbaits. You need these things. Generally, there's so many good ones on the market. These happen to be River to Sea. Strike King makes some. KVD has some good ones out there. Booyah. Just a ton of great baits, and most of them that are in this size here are going to die from about 3 to 5 feet. That's what's most important. Primary colors are going to be Delta Craw colors, and again, just shad colors. If you've got those two colors with crankbaits, start off with these. You can build from that. As we move down the chain, we'll talk about lipless crankbaits, and the two lipless crankbaits that I will recommend are just the standard old rattle trap. It's about a $6 bait. These things catch a ton of fish. Stick with the crawdad colors and the normal shad colors. If you want to catch stripers, throw the blue one, and that's going to be great. $5 or $6 bait. If you want to upgrade your bait a little bit, go with an LV500. These are great baits, but they're I think they're about a $15 bait. They're a little heavier, and they're going to get down in the weeds, and you're going to rip these through the weeds. You want to throw these out, let them settle into the weeds, rip them, and yo-yo them back. You can burn them back, but more than likely you're going to get more fish yo-yoing these back to the boat. Again, you spend a little more money on this LV500. This is going to work much better for you when you get up to Clear Lake and probably some of the mother lode lakes. I don't think there's a big difference on the Delta if you're between an LV500 and the regular rattle trap. So you might want to get one of each and experiment with both of those. Another thing that I'll do during the transition time is I kind of wean away from chatterbaits. You know, I love to fish chatterbaits, and they will work, but I have found the last couple years, as that water temperature starts dropping, I seem to get more bites on a standard spinner bait. I fish white with white blades or white with some type of white and gold blade. My secondary color would be red and black. This has worked really well in the last couple years, and I stay with a 1/2 ounce spinner bait. I have also really had very good luck with this Big Bite Baits Kamikaze Swimmin' trailer. That's what it looks like on a rigged up. Really great bait. They are, and they're only about $3.99. So if you can find these, they have them at Tackle Warehouse. They have them in a bunch of different colors. This is obviously the white one, but these work great. Moving along, we're going to talk about plastic swim baits, and I've just got, everybody knows what this is. It's a small Kitech. I've got the tail chewed up, but Kitechs work great anywhere from the 3-inch to the 5-inch. One thing I will do during this time of year is I don't throw an exposed hook. What I like to do is make sure I put these on with some type of underspin. I really like the underspin this time of year, and Owner Beast hooks make a great underspin, and also Fish Head makes a really good underspin. So this is a Spark Shad, Megabass Spark Shad. This is a really good color. I think it's AU. This is another good color, especially for stripers with that blue. And this one's set up weedless with an underspin. And again, I mean, there's big hammers. There's tons of these paddle tail swim baits. I'm just using the Kitech and the Megabass for demonstration. If you have this style of bait, make sure you're throwing that, and you're going to get some action on those. Last but not least, I'm going to just talk about one more bait, and that's just a Senko or a stick bait. A lot of times I will go down to a 5-inch instead of throwing a 6-inch. I'll throw a 5, but make sure you have a Senko on or a stick bait on year-round. These will produce a lot of fish, and they will produce big fish. No weight. I like to just throw them wacky, weightless. Never take a Senko off in the Delta, or for that matter, pretty much anywhere. Stay with your standard colors: green pumpkin, black and blue, and maybe watermelon. You're going to catch a ton of fish. With that, I'll talk about two baits that I didn't mention that you're going to probably want to get familiar with, but they're a little more in-depth to fish, and one of them is a glide bait like a River to Sea S-Waver or a Mikey or something. Mikey's actually a wake bait, but probably a 6 to 8 inch glide bait. You can catch some really big fish out here, but let's wait till next year if you're a new to the Delta and new to fishing. That's a bait that you probably want to give yourself a little more leeway on working with, and maybe go out with somebody that knows how to use them. It's very hard to get confidence in the bigger swim baits, the glide baits. The other thing would be a jig. As the water gets cooler and cooler, jigs are going to come into play. The reason I left the jig out is because it's a slow-moving bait. All of these baits that I talked about today are fast-moving baits, and if you're just getting acquainted with the Delta, you're just getting away with this fall pattern, it's best to move and cover water. And all of these baits, you can really go down the bank and fish them fast. What that does for you on the learning curve is you start to learn where the fish are holding. Once you learn where the fish are holding and you have confidence that, hey, they're on this point, they're on this inlet, whatever, then you can take your jigs and your slower moving baits that maybe we'll do another report on, and really focus in on maybe fishing just small little places. But for now, the newer guys out here during this fall transition, move down the bank quickly and cover water. Okay, with that, I'm going to do another video here. Hopefully I'll have it ready in a couple of days, but we're going to talk about knots, lines, braid lines, mono, fluoro, and how we rig all of these up, the little nuances in what knots we're going to tie. If we use a leader, if we use straight braid, if we use straight mono, I'll go over all of that. I know a lot of you guys have been requesting a video on leaders and how to set up all these baits, and they're all a little bit different, and there's no one exact way or leader to fish these on. So I will be talking about how I fish them, and the rods that I use, and how they pretty much combine with a certain type of rod, the bait, and the leader. So with that, thank you guys so much for watching. Stay tuned to the video. Man, get ready for some good fishing here in the next couple months, hopefully, and we'll see you guys on the water. Make sure you like it and subscribe. Take it easy.